Sri Lanka President Gotabaya Rajapaksa flees as protesters surround his residence. Sri Lanka President fleeing amid protests in the country as Sri Lanka is going through an economic downturn. The country has gone bankrupt. Protests happening there in Sri Lanka and they are not stopping. This time, we are hearing that Sri Lanka President has in fact left amid protest. He has left from his residence as protesters surrounded his residence. Well, that is what we are hearing right now. This is a big story coming in at this point of time. In Sri Lanka, power cuts continue, economic downturn continues. Country is not being able to come out of the financial issues that it has been struggling with, and protests continue in Sri Lanka. We had told you earlier as well, viewers, that in some places protests have turned violent as well. And according to our sources, the Lankan president there has in fact left his residence as protesters surrounded the place where he was staying. A very, very serious issue coming in from Sri Lanka. Now, Sri Lanka, in fact, is in between an economic crisis which has led to fury on the streets, and this has been happening for the past couple of months. Soaring inflation has meant that food, medication, fuel are all in short supply. There are blackouts in the country as well, viewers. Ordinary people have taken to the streets in anger, with many blaming the Rajapaksa family and their government for the situation that they are seeing in the country right now. And the big news coming in is that there is no stop to the problems that Sri Lanka is facing. There is no solution so far because protests continue at this point of time. And the Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has in fact left his residence, has moved out as protesters are surrounding his residence. Anger on the street continues there in Sri Lanka. Many children also in Sri Lanka, they have no food to eat. The crisis has hit on every level, from the macroeconomic to the molecular. In every level, the crisis has hit Sri Lanka. The UN has also warned of malnutrition and a humanitarian crisis. And for many, the crisis has been, in fact, going on for months now. And the big news coming in that Sri Lankan president has left his residence amid the protests. And in fact, a lot of aid has also gone into Sri Lanka. India has also pitched in with some help, but there is no relief there as the economic crisis grips Sri Lanka, and the president, we believe, has left as angry protesters take to the streets and surround his residence. Earlier, we had also seen viewers that there were very violent protests on the streets. Many people had also lost their lives there in Sri Lanka. All right, I'm being joined by Azad Sali, former governor of Western Province, Sri Lanka, on the phone line. We're getting these reports right now that the Sri Lankan president has left his residence amid protest. What is your first reaction? Gotabaya Rajapaksa there, a lot of blame coming on the Rajapaksa family for what's happening there in Sri Lanka.
Actually, the mess they created when they came to power in 2019. From that time, they created a communal trend in this country and made it a more Buddhist country, saying that the minorities cannot live here. That is the inspiration, that's the aspiration of the people today, that people had to go. Firstly, they went to the residence of the president and chased him away. And then he came to the president's house in Colombo. Now they have entered the president's house, and now he is not there either. Now, the only way out is a president should have an exit. The only exit that the president can have is leave Sri Lanka, go out of the country and tender his resignation. Only then it will be safe for him, because that is a real situation at this moment. People are so angry, people are so desperate, people are so frustrated. People want him. People want him. People are behind him, and they have gone everywhere in search of him. And the only way that the president can escape is leave the country, and the Rajapaksas leave the country, leave politics, leave Sri Lanka alone, return all the money that they have robbed in the country. That is the only way that out. And all the stooges of the Rajapaksas will not be left. Everybody who had robbed the country, who had assisted them in robbing the country, will be dealt with by the Aragalaya, the struggle.
Right. Now, as of the present situation, Mr. Sali, tell us what is happening. The government is failing to deliver on its promises. It's trying its best, that's what they say. But you are there in Sri Lanka. What exactly is happening at this moment? Do you see any hope of the country coming out from this economic crisis?
Sri Lanka is a beautiful country with beautiful people around. We have the single Tamil, Muslim and Christian community living together. That harmony was totally destroyed by the Rajapaksas. Now it has come back. People are wanting to be together. People want all communities to come together, gather as one Sri Lankan community. So the struggle has brought that result, and people are together now. What we know is that knowing and people advising the government in the last 2.5 years that you are going in the wrong track, you're doing the wrong economy, this thing, you're only trying to send your money out or bring money out from there. All these things were advised, and going to the IMF was told to them 2 years ago, but they never listened to anybody. They were pundits of their own. That is why this country was totally ruined, and it has gone to an extent of bankruptcy. Sri Lanka has been bankrupt by the Rajapaksas. First time in Sri Lanka's history that country is facing a situation like this. So now it is up to the people. That is what I have been always saying, that a national government is the only solution. Now, once the president leaves, the prime minister will have to temporarily take over for 2 weeks to 1 month as the president, and then appoint a prime minister and or form a national government that can take Sri Lanka forward. We are a small country, but a country that can come. We have a history. We had a 30-year-old war. We came up out of that. We came out of the mess that we were put into, and Sri Lanka can definitely come. $52 billion of loan is not a big amount for Sri Lanka. We have the potential. We have the right thinking people. We have the professionals who can do the job. We will definitely bring Sri Lanka within the next 2 years is our target.
Right. All right. Thank you for joining us. That was Azad Sali, former governor of Western Province of Sri Lanka, on the phone line. As we get news, the Sri Lankan president has left amid protests, as angry protesters came on the streets and surrounded his residence as well.